All right. You know what night it is? It is open mic night, which means it is your night, your turn to sound off next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And tonight, different night. I think we're going to change it up. It looks like my co host, Rad, and I are going to be going on Wednesday nights, which means open mic night is now going to be Thursday night after the Hammer and Nail show over on Jack Hammer's channel. So get used to it, get dug in, get ready. Link is in the chat. It should be pinned in the chat right now. I've got nobody waiting. My usual two that start us off both said they're not going to be able to make it tonight. I don't know if it was the schedule change or what have you, but they're not able to make it. So that means we are wide open, ready for your takes. Click the link. That'll bring you backstage. Whatever you want to talk about. If you want to talk about the draft, we can talk about that all week long. You've heard my takes on it. I'll give you a quick recap. Loved the Drake Jackson pick. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was a steal. This is a kid that played for, I believe, two different defensive coordinators, ran through three different schemes. If I'm quoting my good friend Chris right on this, he is a huge USC fan. Drake Jackson was asked to lose quite a bit of weight after his freshman year. And when he went through that weight loss, it really affected his play. And so what you've seen from him is he's put on all that weight for this, or basically at the end of the season, to get ready for the next level. His playing weight is much closer to that 275, 280 range, and they had him closer to 250. That is not his ideal weight. So, a raw player, somebody who has not been coached up to the best of his abilities, but at the same time, definitely with Chris Kosterick, can absolutely be a gem, a diamond in the rough. And in a deep edge draft class, I really think that Drake Jackson can make a huge, huge difference. Then we've got the second pick. You know my thoughts about that. I don't want to hammer it home. Don't hate the player. Ty Davis Price might end up being fine. I just think it was a reach there at running back. They came back and got Danny Gray. Danny Gray's a guy who I mocked to the 49ers many times. Usually in round 4 is where he fell. Don't hate it at all. He's something different than what the 49ers have had at the wide receiver position, which is very different than the Ty Davis Price pick, which is a big reason why I didn't like it as much, is because Ty Davis Price is similar to what they've got on the roster, slightly different, right? He's not exactly the same, but not the fastest guy, little bit of a thumper between the tackles, similar, right? To where you get to Danny Gray, and Danny Gray is a much, much different player than what they have on the roster from a wide receiver position. You look at the wide receiver position, they don't have that straight line speed guy. They've tried to bring it in, and guys like Benjamin's just not that good of a player, right? Quite frankly. And I think Gray long term can fit that need for sure. They need somebody that can take the top off, because the guy that did that last year was really Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk ran a ton of clear out routes. And Brandon Ayuk, let's be clear, Brandon Ayuk can be a hell of a receiver. He's a guy that we are picking to break out. A lot of us are picking to break out this year. So to me, Danny Gray can start to be that clear out route guy. I think it's absolutely perfect for the 49ers. It was a great pick there. And he does need some development. But to me, I do like the pick, certainly. Then, as you get later in the draft, the guy that I really, really like a lot, Samuel Womack. I think this guy can start at nickel corner. I do. You're talking about a 4'3" guy, 5'9", around 189 pounds. 17 pass breakups, led the MAC 3 years in a row with pass breakups. To me, I love that pick. I think this is a guy that absolutely can start for the 49ers at nickel corner. Now, I know Adam Peters talked about him as an outside corner type of guy. I think he will fit that mold of nickel corner, and they need a nickel corner. They could go with an Emmanuel Mosley. They could go with a Jason Verrett. But to me, go with one of these young cats, whether it's Diamador Lenore or Womack. I think that that would be a great fit. Keep that depth on the outside. And then eventually, if you need it, you can kick one of those guys in if there's an injury or something. So that's enough of me ranting. I got a couple people piled up in the back. Again, hit the link in the description. Be right here. Hop on. But I got a guy that I've been watching lately. I've been paying attention to 49ers Breakdown. He's a guy that's in here. He's always showing me love. Love that. I had to show him love back. I am one of his subscribers. I know he's a newer channel, but he does something a little bit different. So I really highly recommend checking him out. He knows his football. He knows his terminology. He does a good job of breaking down game film. So it's not your typical, call-in show or opinion-based show. He doesn't opine a lot, but he does just give you the basics of what he's seeing. So I'm going to bring him in right now. I'm actually going to bring him on screen. Normally I don't do that, but he's got his own show. I'm not too worried about him doing something crazy over here. So let me go small screen here and bring him in. What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. How are you, Jesse?
I'm doing fantastic, man.
Nice. I appreciate the kind words, man. I really do, and I enjoy your breakdowns, man, and your knowledge of the game. So
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate it. And like I said, I always like it. There's a lot of people in the 49er content world, right? And so it definitely can get clogged up a little bit. But one thing that I always try to do is I try to show love to fellow content creators. I do my best. I'll pop into live chats as much as possible, even if it's for a second, just to say hi, tell people to like and subscribe. I always subscribe to everybody. And I came across your channel recently. You've been in the chat a ton. I'm sure you were in the chat even before that, not as 49ers Breakdown, but
right.
I like what you bring to the table, man. It really is something different, and I respect it. So for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I was a little hesitant of doing, being a content creator because there are so many already, like you said.
Sure.
But to be able to break down X's and O's and just use my experience in that realm, I think could be beneficial. But there's one thing I was hoping to talk to you about, and
Yeah, what's up, man?
yeah, you had brought up on Jack's show that there's a chance that Garoppolo stays with the Niners this season. And I was actually going to bring that up tonight on my show. I'll be up 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time if anybody wants to come by. But I have a hot take regarding that. And I honestly believe they will keep him because I think they want to get value for him. I do not think they want to release him. And I think the best value they can get, correct me if I'm wrong, would be around the trade deadline when a bad team needs a quarterback or a team that thought they were going to be good needs a quarterback. So maybe Tua doesn't play good football. Maybe Tua plays poor football, and Miami's like, let's take a flyer on Jimmy. We know we can use him. Or Houston at that time, or teams at that time. So to me, that makes sense to me that the Niners would keep him to the trade deadline to where they can get value for him. You made the point they can't cut him when he can't pass a physical, so they have to hold on to him for a little bit. I think that's where we're at right now.
Uh, Listen, I don't think you're that far off, and they have ways to cut the cost in other avenues in order to get the money down. It is a little frustrating, though, at least for me, to know that they're kicking the can down the road with all these players. They're doing all these things just to make room to keep this guy on the roster potentially. And
Yeah.
I do understand that if they can get something for him in a trade, that would be ideal. But the way that I see it is you have a bunch of money sitting there. And I remember saying last offseason, if you just cut this guy, you're going to roll over not only the 25 for your saving, but if you keep that for next year, which would have been this year, you're going to be able to go over the salary cap by 25 million. It's basically like saving 50 million. Well,
Right.
now they're in the same situation again this year. And if they don't take advantage of that, and I don't think they're going to for whatever reason,
Right.
if you don't take advantage of that again, it's super frustrating because everybody talks about that third round comp pick. Yes, that is on the table, but if you sign enough guys, much like when they lost Lake and Tomlinson and brought in Charvarius Ward, that offsets it and you don't get any comp pick. It's based off of talent lost versus talent brought in. So if you lose a Jimmy Garoppolo, but you bring in another good player, you're not going to get anything for Jimmy. And all he did was sit here, rot away, eat up cap space. And then I am concerned about the locker room dynamics. I know a lot of people aren't worried about those things, but to me, I'm absolutely worried about those things.
Yeah, I think if in this scenario I'm proposing, I don't think he would. I don't think that he would be in the locker room. I think they would stash him away, kind of keep him behind the scenes. But I just think they consider him too valuable of an asset to just give him away for nothing. And obviously they fumbled the trade, and then when Jimmy decided to get surgery, they knew they were on the outs. But at this point, do you really see a team trading for him? I don't know. It's just, I mean, because they don't even know if he can throw the ball or if he'll be able to throw the ball by camp. So it just seems like the likely scenario is, well, the Niners are in position where they can sign all their draft picks. Deebo is kind of maybe coming back. Maybe it's a scenario in which they wait to get the best value they can, and that just happens to be at the trade deadline when a bad team needs a quarterback. I don't see another scenario, brother. I really don't see him releasing him for nothing.
I don't either. And I brought this up on Grant's show last night, and I'd said it in some other areas too, but to me, the 49ers do a bad job of evaluating what their talent is worth to other people in the league. And, again, they had no reason to trade Deebo Samuel, right? If they really think they can work it out, no reason to do that. Right. But when they're asking for a king's ransom, you're not going to get that. You knew what his value was based off of Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. And then with Jimmy, they said they didn't get any trade offers. Well, you didn't get any trade offers, I imagine, because your trade offers, you went into trade talks saying, we're stuck on this. We're not willing to take anything less.
Yep.
If you don't come with that offer, there's no reason to talk.
Right.
And so, of course, you didn't get any trade offers when you're asking for a second round pick for Jimmy or whatever it was, right? So if you're stubborn in that, to me, it just tells me that the 49ers are not the best at evaluating their own talent and what that talent is worth to the rest of the league.
Absolutely. And I can see that in the case of Deebo because he brings a dynamic to the offense and the team. But when you're deliberately and openly stepping away from a guy like Jimmy, you kind of got to get, just what you can for him and move the salary. Now they're in a really tough position where they have a hard time paying Deebo and they're stuck with Jimmy. So this is a tough place to be. And of course, we know that Deebo's doing some good things in the social media realm right now, but that could be a good sign. It is a good sign, but that could also just be kind of covering up some of the mistakes he made in the past, trying to, make it more even keel, maybe make himself more appealing to other GMs, not just the Niners. So it's an interesting dynamic, and I 100% agree. They overvalue their assets, 100%. They have a deep team, but they definitely overvalue their assets. It's going to be extremely exciting to see what they do. A lot of depth, though. A lot of depth.
Yeah, tons of depth, and that's a good thing to have. And I think also we do have to put some blame on those players and those agents as well. It's not just the 49ers, but whether it was by your strategic thoughts of Jimmy getting surgery or just happened to be bad timing, that didn't help the matters at all. And I imagine that Don Yee would prefer that his client had gotten cut and been able to choose his next destination. But when you play it with that timing, that's not helping your client. Right. And same thing with Deebo Samuel, by the way. You do have other receivers that are with Tory Dandy, and those receivers also requested trades. Well, they got traded. The way that Deebo went about it, if he truly did want to be traded, that hurt his trade value. It did.
Agreed.
And so
Agreed.
You just have to stay quiet. So to me, I feel like the players overplayed their value. The 49ers overshot what they think those players' value is. It was just a bad overall encompassing issue.
Yeah. I got one more hot take for you. Hot take. I don't think is going to happen. But when you look at somebody like Tory Dandy, he's the type of agent that is forcing his hand against owners, against GMs, and saying, look, this is what my players want. This is what they're going to get. This is what they're worth. We saw that AJ was traded. It's been reported that Metcalf is wanting to be traded as well. He's just being quiet about it behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if you're San Francisco, first of all, I don't think we see Deebo playing without a new contract. I think he'd be willing to sit out this year and force a trade again. I just do not see him playing without a new contract. But the Niners are in a tough position because they can't really pay him right now. So this is kind of out of left field, but I could see a scenario where Lynch calls Schneider and says, hey, both of our guys want out. Both of our guys have the same agent. Let's make a swap. Both second round picks, Metcalf for Deebo, and now we'll trade them. And now you force the hand on the GM or on the agent rather. And you say, okay, look, your guys got traded. Now what are they going to do? And now the players are looking at the agent saying, what did you do? You traded us, right? And so the Niners are thinking, okay, well, we can play until we trade Jimmy with Metcalf, give him a new deal. And the Seahawks are saying, well, Metcalf wanted to be gone anyways, so maybe we can sign Deebo. I know it's not likely. I know it's a hot take, but if I was the Niners, I might make that call if it came down to Deebo saying, I'm not playing without a new contract, because I just don't know how they pay him right now. How do they pay him, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, right now you can't pay him. You're
Exactly.
gonna have to either get rid of Jimmy, extend Ward, cut Ebicom, a combination of two of those three. If you don't get rid of Jimmy, yeah, man, I'm with you, right? Like it's an interesting situation. That would be wild if that's the trade they made. But there are some rumblings that DK isn't necessarily the most happy either, and it is interesting, right? Because I feel like Deebo and AJ Brown are the antithesis of being a diva. They are not at all like that. They go, they give it their all, they play their hearts out. And DK kind of is a bit of a diva on the field.
Right.
But when it came to the offseason, you saw the flip-flop, right?
Yeah.
To where DK's been extremely quiet. He showed up to the non-mandatory workouts and did his thing, where the other guys are requesting trades. It was just an interesting contrast. And we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I'll say this. If the 49ers are somehow able to work it out with Deebo and DK also gets traded, so three of the other four receivers represented by this guy that are in the same exact situation as Deebo worked their way out, but they were able to keep Deebo, it shows that they got a good tight-knit thing going on in San Francisco, and that's something that you should be proud of.
For sure. It's almost as if DK took the binky out and the other guys put it in, right? It's going to be interesting. I think that there's still a lot of time left, a lot of time in this offseason. And I wouldn't frown at cutting Ebicom. I know he came on late in the season, but I wouldn't frown at that. Restructuring Jimmy Ward makes sense. You might even be able to get Trent Williams to do some work on his contract or another high contract guy. They got to do whatever they can do to get Deebo signed. But if it comes down to the end and those players are still demanding trades, maybe we see something like that. But it's interesting. I mean, what do? You got to do something, and I just don't see Deebo playing on this salary. In fact, I wouldn't play if I was Deebo on this salary because the way he plays is too physical in nature, right?
Yeah. Now he would lose that accrued year, right? Which means he would not be an unrestricted free agent. But at the same time, it's like you can't risk getting hurt the way that he plays. He's way too physical. He's 26 years old. I think they ultimately get a deal done. But at the same time, if they don't, it's the ultimate disaster. It's the ultimate disaster. And it does show that both sides overplay their hand, because if they don't get a deal done with Deebo, that is worst case scenario. Worst case scenario.
Agreed. 100%. 100%. They got to do something, or they have to make a move. And obviously, I'm happy they didn't make moves for picks, because picks become players, and you never know what those players are going to turn out like. But if you're able to make a swap with somebody like DK, I mean, it's not really a loser in that situation in a lot of ways. Not likely. Don't think it's going to happen. But I would prefer that over trading for picks, unproven players. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. Deebo coming back was amazing. Somebody is bringing this up, and I'll let you out of here in just a second. But somebody said that they should have traded Jimmy after the Super Bowl, and KW says, "How the hell could you trade Jimmy after the Super Bowl?" Well, this is very easy. Tom Brady wanted to be a 49er. That's how you trade Jimmy after the Super Bowl. And by the way, the assets that you could get for Jimmy would not have been any higher. So
Yeah.
you could have gotten something good for Jimmy. You could have had the GOAT. You probably would have had a Super Bowl ring at this point.
Yes.
Maybe not that first year because they had a lot of injuries, but this last year, if Tom Brady was on the roster, they would have won a Super Bowl. So,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, that's how you get rid of Jimmy G. It's pretty
Yeah.
simple, actually.
I mean, what do you have? Eight pass attempts in that Green Bay game, in the NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be able to go to a Super Bowl with a guy that's throwing the ball that much, that's pretty ridiculous. I think the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
And it was close. They were trying to maybe get Brady. And of course, that famous quote that Brady said, "You're going to stick with that, right? You're going to stick with that." And I think, Jimmy did a good job. After he got injured, he started getting real antsy in the pocket. It was like a different player in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
You never really had the arm talent to stretch the field. And that became a liability for the Niners. And, excited to see Trey, man. Excited to see
Me
what he
too.
can do. I like what you said earlier. It's not like we haven't seen him play. And for him, one thing that Jimmy did do well is he was a good teammate. He learned from Brady, so he prepared well. So for Trey to be able to see that for a year and grow, I think just benefits him greatly. To be on the scout team and go through all those other playbooks and see how other teams try to attack defenses, benefited him greatly. Another year to mature. Man, I think we're already a better team. Obviously, offensive line, there's some concerns. I have some concerns at safety with depth there, but you gotta like the depth of the team. I mean, it's just it's hard to see a weak link. Now, if Mac doesn't come back, that's some more questions. But they still have players that have proven to play there with Brunskill. They like Brendel, so. I'm encouraged. Even with the drama, you look at that wide receiver group. That wide receiver group is deep, even without Deebo. Now, Deebo's a game changer, right?
For sure.
But
Yes.
I mean, you look at that group; it's actually fairly deep, even without him. I like Tay Martin, man. Tay Martin was a heck of a player in
I do
college.
too.
Yeah, I mean, watched him Washington State as well as Oklahoma State, and I think that that's a deep group. That's a deeper group than I think people want to give credit for. I like. Gray, I think we needed a guy like that. I was huge on Tyquan Thornton, but Gray
Me
fills a
too. Me
need.
too. Gordon
Yeah,
went so early, though. My
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. I watched his film. I remember telling people that I think he could. I would take him in the third or fourth, is what I was saying. People were kind of
Mhm.
rolling their eyes at me, but that film just popped off the board. I mean, he was running by corners at safety depth. It was just like, is this real?
And he was basically everything Gray is, but he's a better route runner than Gray is. Like Gray
Yeah,
doesn't sell a
yeah,
lot of the intermediate routes, and
right.
Tyquan Thornton certainly did. So yeah, I'm with you. I like Thornton.
Yeah, I like Gray's toughness though. I think he's got a tenacity about him, right? He calls himself a dog. He's from Texas. Texas breeds good football players.
Yeah,
So I'm excited, and he can absolutely run, and he's 6 foot tall to be able to run a 4.3 at that height. I think that and he watching his highlights, he fills the route tree, not the cleanest routes, but you see him run the fade, the corner, the post, corner, the post. He's even catching screens and the drag. I mean, he runs it all. So I think that. I think he could be a guy that can be very explosive for the Niners. A lot of people are like, well, he's the guy that just goes deep. I'm thinking to myself, I think he can be more than that. And, Ayuk's a guy that can go deep too. Of course, Jimmy just could never get the ball out there.
for
So,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. We got a whole different ball game at quarterback now.
for
All right,
sure,
man. Hey,
brother.
that
For
was a
sure.
great call, man. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for always
Thank you, man.
supporting 49ers Breakdown. This gentleman has a new channel. Go check it out. It sounds like he's going to be live tonight. Always appreciate the support from you, and glad to give it back as well, man. We'll have to link up at some point and actually
Yeah.
do a show together. All right.
Love to, brother. Thank you so
All
much.
right,
God
brother.
bless.
Yeah, you too, man. All right, I'm gonna bring in Mr. William Bennett. Listen, Jimmy Garoppolo is a Subway guy now, and I'm seeing William. It looked like he was eating maybe a sub sandwich, so maybe he's a Jimmy G guy. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to ask him about it. He was definitely eating for sure. It looked like a sub sandwich. I think it might have been the Italian sub sponsored by Jimmy Garoppolo. Not quite sure about that. We'll have to ask him about it. What's up, man? How you doing, Mr. William Bennett? What's up?
Hey, how you doing, man? How's everything? Can you hear me?
I got you, man. I got you. What were you eating a sub sandwich?
Actually, I was not.
Okay.
I was eating a slice of pizza. uh,
Oh man, I looked back. I was like, is he eating a sub sandwich right now?
can you see me? I don't know if you can see me or not.
I got you. I can see you. They can't see you. Yes, I can see you.
Um, but no, I was just eating some pizza as a late dinner. I
There
had
you
to
go.
give
I
you
feel it.
the Deebo. I had to give you the Deebo. Like, no, no,
I saw you. Yeah, yeah. No, 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 no.
no. We
That's
don't,
awesome.
we don't, we don't mess with the subway. Remember the guy Jerry or whatever his name, the
Oh
pedophile.
yeah, yeah. No, that's no good. That's no good.
But it's good to talk to you and see you again, Jess, especially without
Yeah.
the glasses.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. I still got the scars though.
See,
Definitely gonna take some time to heal for
yeah,
sure. But I'm happy to not be wearing the glasses. That was not my thing.
yeah, it'll heal. It'll heal. Time. It's just all about time.
For sure, for
Um,
sure.
my take. I was watching you on Jack's show just a moment ago, and of course,
Mhm.
I was gonna come over and show you some love. You my guy. Um, I my take on this whole thing is, and I know some people about the roast me, the Jimmy fans about the roast me. But to be honest, all this that has been going on with us this whole off season has transpired from Jimmy. No, hey, I'm not mad at the man for getting his bag. Hey, that's what he got in the game for. I'm not mad at that. But every moment that Jimmy is on this roster after the championship has done nothing but negatively affect this team.
Hmm.
And would you say this? If Jimmy was not on the books, would Mostert still be here? Yes, Mostert tore his ACL, but he went to Miami for $3 million. That's
I think
nothing.
it'd be
That's
hard to
no
not
money.
bring Mostert back at 3 mil. Yeah.
That's no money. DJ Jones, would he still be on this roster if Jimmy was not here? We would have had.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so because I think I didn't look at his contract as a whole, but I remember it being reported for around 10 million. I honestly thought so. Here was my prediction. Just I'll give you my prediction before we went into things. I said
Okay.
that I thought DJ Jones would be gone, Lake and Tomlinson would be gone. I thought both of them played too good and priced themselves out. But I did think some of the veterans like Verrett, Tart, and Mostert probably would make their way back onto this team because they would be inexpensive and they fill possible starting roles. So, but I agree with you that Mostert loss right now. I mean, we were killing, a lot of us are, not everybody, but a lot of people are killing the Ty Davis price pick. Well, that pick doesn't have to be made if you got Raheem Mostert. And Raheem Mostert, unlike Ty Davis Price, is a very different player at the running back position than what you've already got.
You gotta understand what, and I've been hearing a lot of people really go bad on the youngin for us picking him where we picked him and picking another running back, and people are like, oh, we just got Trey Sermon and ooh. People gotta understand the draft is just like a book of matches. Yeah, they all look like they're fire, but when you go to strike some of them just break apart. It's just not there. And not to say that that's Trey Sermon, but what I think the reason Ty Cow drafted the youngin was, and people are like, well, what about Mitchell? Mitchell is a hole runner. He hits holes.
Mm-hmm.
Sermon hits holes. He's looking for that next running back that can actually get to the outside.
For
And
sure.
that's
I
a
agree.
that's a whole nother skill set. You gotta understand. Yes, it's great if you can hit the hole, but unless you're just some prolific runner and every now and then you may break a few, you're taking a lot of shots up that hole. And yes, you may get three, and if you can get four carrying, you're a beast if hitting that hole. But you gotta understand, if you can hit that, get to that outside, you're gonna and do it well at a rate of speed, you're gonna get those 5-6 yard carries. that made Deebo look like it, because I'm promising you, that's why they put Deebo back there. It was like, okay, damn, Deebo's pretty fast. And for the way he looks, he's surprisingly quick. You really would look at Deebo and not think Deebo is as fast as he is. But if you notice, even through the highlights of Trey throwing touchdowns to Deebo, Deebo is getting separation. He's wide open. You feel, especially with Trey Lance. That's how in the Seahawks game, the announcer was like, "Oh, how is Deebo so wide open?" Because Jamal Adams had to realize this ain't Jimmy back there. That's Trey. He can run. He can take off and will take off when need be. So I got to stay home a little bit more. And you notice that every time Trey played, they had to stay home a little bit more. They can't just sleep that, oh, Jimmy, no matter what, he's not going to run out. But back to the point of Jimmy is just his money. We just got to get his money off the books. And I understand about the other caller or chatter saying about how you're going to get rid of Jimmy after the Super Bowl. Well, that's like saying, well, how are we going to get rid of the water boy after the Super Bowl? He gave us all that good nourishment. There's other water boys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if he's like the Adam Sandler water boy, that was something special now.
Now, that was special. That's a once in a lifetime. But I'm just saying, Jimmy on these books has hurt our team in so many ways. Honestly, to be honest, and I'm going to keep it real, Chiefs, that should have been our Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Chiefs at first did not know how to attack the 49ers. They like, everybody on this team is a stud. And then they thought about it. Guess what? There's one guy. And if we can get the ball in his hands and put the game on the line in his hands, we have a shot. Jimmy. And every other time we've lost, the Miami games, the other games,
even the Rams talked about it though. The Rams talked about it, and
yeah,
Deebo.
when you realize, hey, if we can just put the ball in Jimmy's hands, we have a shot. Yep. And it proves to a point. Put the ball in Jimmy's hands. In the Tennessee game, put the ball in Jimmy's hands. In the Miami game, the year that everybody got hurt in 2020, put the ball in Jimmy's hands. That's our key to victory. I was just talking to a Cowboy fan earlier, and they were saying, oh, the refs cheated. I said, no, they didn't. The Cowboys cheated themselves. And I say, to be honest, you cheated yourself, even though Jimmy kept y'all in the game when that game should have been put away way too big. Way too big. But it's Jimmy. And I give Jimmy his props. He made it in the NFL. There's very few people that make it to the NFL and have a successful career. And even though we may not think that Jimmy's career is that great, to be in the league as long as he have and gotten the money he has, he's had a successful career. If he retires today, he's good.
He's been a good teammate for the most part. For at least what we've heard in San Francisco. Maybe there was some things in New England. It sounds are a little sketch, but as far as being in San Francisco, he's been a good teammate. He's been a good leader. That's all you can ask for at the end of the day, right? And he has done those things. So
yes, trust me, Jimmy's a great teammate. You've heard nothing but I'm gonna tell you, if somebody's not a good teammate or if there's some disparities in that locker room, somebody's gonna leak it. It's gonna come out. Somebody's gonna say something off camera, especially with social media now. Like, that dude think he's a diva. That dude, you know what I'm saying? But you heard nothing but support for Jimmy, even in the face of them knowing. Kittle know. The team know what Jimmy limitations is, but they rally behind.
No, you're good. You're good.
But they rallied behind him so much that they're willing to go into battle knowing that they got to put their bodies, their careers on the line to support this guy. That says a lot. That says a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, it's like the guests at the end of a party who just won't go home. You done turned the lights
It's
out. You know, put your
listen, the party ended last Saturday, William. The party ended last Saturday. This man's still sleeping in my lawn. What's going on?
He like, you wake up, you're ready to clean up from the draft party, and this guy's still on the couch. He's talking about going to get more beer. Like,
I
dude,
feel it.
go home.
I feel it. I feel it.
But I just think we got to move from Jimmy. Honestly, this whole thing with Deebo and everything has been a chess game. Deebo, to me, was never truly serious about leaving. I think what Deebo was trying to show was, okay, you don't think I'm worth what I'm telling you I'm worth? Okay, let's do this. Let me put it out there that I'm gone. Let's see how your fans react. Let's see how your team looks with no Deebo. And they got their answer. And plus, especially when the press ridiculed Lynch in the press conference, they basically was like, no Deebo, y'all trash. I mean, you ain't trash,
listen, like, and the funny thing is
like, you have any chance of Super
knew.
Bowl playoff, you might as well go ahead and cancel that.
He knew.
But pay the man his money. Pay him his money. But you right now, like you said, we cannot pay him the money. Why? Jimmy's still here. And I think they probably said something to Deebo at that dinner of such. We thought we was going to have Jimmy off the books by now. We want you. We really want you. You know you're a Niner. We're trying to put you up in the ring. You're better than Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
You're not gonna say Jerry Rice, but you're better than
No. I'm not going there. And the Terrell Owens one for me is whatever. Hey, Will, I got to get to the next ones, bro. I'm
with you. Deebo Samuels, with all his skill set and utilities, to me, it will be better than Terrell Owens. And the reason I'm saying is, anytime you have a player of Deebo's status and of his versatility, I understand a lot of people say, oh, Deebo's not a true wide receiver. That's not true. That's not true. He is a true wide receiver. It's just under Jimmy, you don't get to see it. You just don't get to see it. Under Trey Lance, Deebo has had more scoring touchdowns as a receiver than with Jimmy. Jimmy is so far off that you literally got to take your best player and stand him next to Jimmy because you're afraid that you can't even put it down the line to him because you may think he'll mess it up. I mean,
the thing is with Deebo is when you watch him in college, he was a major deep threat, and you've seen it show up in spurts with the 49ers, even with Jimmy. But with Trey Lance, he caught 2 deep touchdowns. He can be a threat deep. I don't think that he wants to play. I mean, he'll do whatever it takes to help the team, but he doesn't want to play that running back role. But that's what you had to do with Jimmy. Will, before I do got to let you go because I got people piling up. But I want to say thank you as always for calling in. I'm glad you weren't eating a sub, man, because I was gonna grill you there for a second. Glad it was a piece of pizza.
He came for me. I said, he done came for me. He done put me there. Put me on and then did it with Jimmy. He tried to put me in a trade deal with Jimmy. That's funny.
All right, man. We'll talk next week. All right.
Hey, man. Always a pleasure, man. Keep it real.
All right, man. Later.
Peace.
I love Will, man. He's awesome. All right. I'm starting to get people piled up, so I got to get back to the timer. I was giving people free reign because I didn't have anybody waiting, so there was no reason for it. Before I get to number one faithful, we're going to go number one faithful, Mike Miller, and then EMA Beats. I've got Matthew Sanders here. He says Kyle Shanahan is betting on Trey Lance's escape instead of a good O-line, movement, play action, stretch plays. Kyle Shanahan is sick of winning 14-13. He wants to score 30 points a game. I don't disagree with that last part at the very least. And maybe you're right about the first part. I just don't like forcing Trey Lance to do those things. Knowing that Trey Lance certainly also, by the way, if Mac retires, Now you're expecting him to get up and call out mics and protections and all those things, which he did do in college. But to ask that of him year one, that's a lot. I just think that that's a lot. So, but I'm with you. I think Kyle would love to put up 30 points a game. I think Kyle loves blowing people out. And you see the evidence there when they played the Patriots. That is all you needed to know about what he likes to do to the opposition. No doubt about that. So thank you for the donation. Let me show you some love. We appreciate it. All right, we're gonna get to number one faithful here.
What's going
man?
on?
How are you?
What's going on, man? Can you hear me?
I got you. Yes, sir.
Hey, good, man. Good. Hey, this is my first time on your show, actually. I'm actually a Grant Cohn follower, and I've seen you on a few of his podcasts that he's done. And I would say this, man, I really appreciate you because Grant, man, he's not a Niner fan at all, and he's so pessimistic. I'm like, man, when I first started watching the show, I thought he was a Niner fan. And I was like, oh, man, he makes it seem like everything's going downhill. But no, I appreciate you getting on, man. I jumped over to your show. But
hey, I appreciate that. That's love. I get a lot of people that come over from Grant's show. Grant and I are definitely very different. But I love Grant, and I know that obviously, I mean, he's got like 48,000 subs, and it's not slowing down
yeah.
by any means. And I think that pessimistic outlook is something that we need sometimes as fans, because we definitely get the red and gold colored glasses. I know when the 49ers, I got turned on to Grant in 2020 when the 49ers were not doing so hot. And, as a fan, it can really kind of bring you down and ruin your week a little bit when they don't win. But going and looking forward to Grant's post-game rants, that's kind of what got me through the season. And then I got to know him a little bit. So I respect the hustle for sure. I love Grant, but I appreciate you coming over, man. It's certainly two different dynamics between Grant and I, no doubt about it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So a couple of things. One, this smoke screen that has been put out today of Trey Lance not being impressed by, those are smoke screens. I don't even want people to get overhyped about it. In fact, to be honest with you, I could see Kyle and John sending that out just so that way teams could think more that they care so much about like having Jimmy on the roster and like how vital he could be to our team to try and drum up some inquiries. And we better be careful about sending him to Seattle, just because I wouldn't even put him as Seattle as an option. It's not even so much Jimmy, but it's because he's so respected. And if you could really have old Niner people players go up to Seattle, and then that become the so to speak. I really do think that there's a lot of Niner fans. I mean, Niner players that would then go up to Seattle and follow Jimmy. And Jimmy has this chemistry with these guys. He can actually turn something into something winning up there. We already got Russ out of there. I really don't want any. I'm cool if they run it back with Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Like, why send Jimmy up there? Because he will bring people. I don't think people are talking about that enough.
Yeah, he certainly could. Luckily, at this point, at the very least, because it's so late in free agency, he wouldn't be able to bring a lot. But he's better than Locke is. Let's be clear about that. I definitely will say my things about Jimmy. I think he's a mediocre starting level quarterback, but the key is he's a starting level quarterback. I don't believe Locke is in this league. Jimmy Garoppolo certainly would be an upgrade. I would be fine if Jimmy went there, if they got something for him. Absolutely. Just because Jimmy doesn't scare me that much, but he certainly scares me more than Locke does. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then the last point I'll say is I think Jimmy did his time here in with the Niners. I respect the way he handled it. He did tremendous things for us last year, help us turn that season around. I do think the one knock that I would have on Shanahan, and I don't get on him at all really, because I remember the dark days before Shanahan and Lynch were here. So all the criticisms on Shanahan and Lynch, I'm like, from our fans, I'm like, dude, do you guys remember Tom Sula days? But the one thing that I would say is I would have liked to see him, at least in the NFC Championship game, bring Trey Lance out. Whether he ran the ball or whether he just passed the ball to Kittle, because Kittle barely got any touches. But really, all he had to do was just bring Trey Lance out. And they had to account for Trey for the run. You can hand the ball off to Deebo. You can hand the ball off to Elijah Mitchell, but just have Trey out there. It creates another dynamic that they'd have to guard against. We didn't use that as an asset at all in the playoffs. And I feel like he could have just act like he was running and just throw the ball over the top to Kittle. And that would have been at least first downs on times that we needed it. So I would say that was the one. Because if we got to that Super Bowl, if we got to that championship, we would win the Super Bowl. So just like to see all like the tricks come out of the bag with this, right? And that championship game is going to be bothering a lot of fans for a long time because we're so close.
That's the thing. It's like I understand not wanting to mess with continuity, right? I totally understand that, but it's not like the offense was clicking. Right. What was it? 17 points. It was anemic. It was an anemic offense outside of Deebo doing his thing. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it was a missed opportunity for sure. And that was kind of my whole point at the beginning of the season was if you had started Trey week 1, that by the time they had gotten to week 17 or gotten into the playoffs, if they had still made it, I think teams would be more scared of Trey Lance now having a full season under his belt than what Jimmy Garoppolo could bring. And Jimmy Garoppolo did the bare minimum, and they were still able to make it to the NFC Championship. You're telling me a groomed Trey Lance couldn't have gotten him that far? I have a hard time believing that that's the case.
So you wanted Trey to start the season?
I did, yeah, man. And especially, and the thing is like everybody likes to say, well, they made it to the NFC Championship. See, they made the right move by starting Jimmy out. And I actually think the way they started out the season at 3-5 is actually helping me make my case because I can say, listen, even if Trey struggled a bit early before he got his bearings about him, you're telling me they couldn't have been 3-5? I think they could have been 3-5. Then at that point on, he's hitting his stride and he's a much more dynamic player than anything Jimmy could have been. So
that's true.
That's one of those things, though. I got to say this, Faithful. That's one of those things that if I had a time machine, like if you said you could go back one time in a time machine, that's what I would have done. I would have went back and started Trey Lance and seen how the season played out. Because to me, it's a question that will never be answered. And it's something that I think we all would like to know how that would have ended up playing out. It would be great to know that.
Yeah, no, I agree. That Houston game, I was nervous that first half. The second half, he came back and he was doing well. So you have a point. But hey, look, I know you got to run, man. I appreciate you bringing me on your show.
Hey, thanks for calling in, man. Thanks for following me over from Grant. Thanks for showing love and support.
I'm subscribing and all that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Means the world to me. It really does. Call in anytime. We're going to be doing this every Thursday. If you ever want to talk, man, you ever got a take you want to throw out there, you ever got a bone to pick with me, by all means, man. I get callers in here all the time picking bones with me. We can hash it out. So I appreciate it, man. You have a great night.
Thing you're doing, man. Keep it up.
All right, man. Later.
All right, later.
All right, JP, that's it. Says JB, that's it. Says how many picks did Jimmy throw during? Yeah, it was like 11. It was Grant's got the notes, I'm sure, somewhere. I want to say it was like 11 picks, though. It was not good. And I know we were fed a lot of fluff from some people. I don't think Jimmy looked that good in training camp. And even Jack Hammer, for the limited time he was there, said that Trey Lance looked really good as well. But I appreciate the donation. Before we get to Mr. Mike Miller, here's some love. All right, Mike, listen, we've got 258 people in the chat. It wouldn't be a Mike call if you don't piss off at least 10. So I'm just going to throw that out there, not to put any pressure on you or anything, but I know you like to rile people up. So I'm curious to see what you're bringing to the table tonight.
Well, piss on the whole group you got watching them. We'll just piss them all off. Okay. Y'all were talking about a bunch of stuff, and, like Jack Hammer, it was 18 interceptions I don't forget stuff that Jimmy threw. And Jack Hammer was, how shall I say it, Jimmy G's #1 fan last year. I talked to him about it. We got in a big fight over it because he was in love with Jimmy G then. He could care rat's ass about Trey Lance and what he was doing in camp and when he was beating Jimmy all of last camp. Even threw way more less interceptions, everything. Jack's a big Jimmy G lover. Don't let him lie to you.
Here's what I'll say about Jack real quick. Here's what I'll say about Jack. So Jack was big on Jimmy starting last year, but in private conversations that Jack and I had, he even then he did stand firm on Jimmy, but he had always said that after the season was over, they had to get rid of Jimmy, and it was Trey Lance's time. He does like Trey. He liked Mac more. Don't get it twisted. He liked Mac Jones more, and he still does. But he actually does like Trey Lance. He just thought he had to sit for the year.
Well, that was the biggest mistake the Niners ever made, was setting Trey Lance, because we'd be going into year 2 right now, knowing that we would make the playoffs and do some damage in the playoffs. I don't look for us to make the playoffs or be close to it. I don't know. But I just know if we'd have played him last year, we'd have been this far ahead.
I do agree. I do agree with that. As far as being ahead, I do think they make the playoffs just because the NFC is super weak. And once you're in, anything can happen. But I will say this, Trey Lance, if he was going into year 2 right now, this would be a whole different ball game.
Yeah. And we're not going to do anything until they get rid of John Lynch. They bring in a real GM that can take 14-inch sneaker and stick it square up Kyle Shanahan's ass and get some attention from him. That's the problem. We got a joke of a front office, a joke of an owner. We've got a joke of a head coach. Kyle ain't got no killer instinct. We could be up by 30 and Kyle's going to lay down and let him come back. It's always happened that way. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the chat. Somebody said that their message was retracted. It wasn't me. I have no idea. Move your message.
But we need a actual true GM that can run the team, that can put a boot up Kyle's and take control of the team. We're not going to win nothing with this joke of an organization we got right now. The draft, I know you like the draft. I didn't like the draft at all. I thought we had 3 players.
I didn't love the draft.
Well, you were loving it that first night, or through 3 rounds. You were loving it. Remember when I told you it was bad? And y'all said,
hold on. Let's be fair. That running back pick I killed. I hated the running back pick, but Drake Jackson back
is going to be in the doghouse before he even gets on the field.
That's a possibility. I love Drake Jackson. I love Drake Jackson.
Jackson's all right, but the problem with him is he's lazy on the field.
Well, I'll say this about him.
I've watched probably 20-some games he's played already, and he's not a 3-down defensive end. He's out there basically 1 to 2 downs a series. That's it. He's lazy. He ain't got no dirt. He ain't got no drive. He ain't got no heart. He's a bust.
Let me say this about Drake Jackson. So he went through 2 defensive coordinators, 3 defensive schemes. His best year was his freshman year. They asked him to lose about 25, 30 pounds to play a completely different role, which was outside of his wheelhouse. He's now put that weight back on, getting ready for draft season. I think he's going to be pretty good, Mike. I think you're to be surprised by this guy.
Let's put a jersey on it.
I think he's going to be good.
Let's put a jersey on it. Put your money where your mouth is.
We'll bet something. Let's do.
Hey, Grant thought he was the greatest pick in the world. That automatically makes him a bust, because anything Grant says is good is going to go to hell in a handbag. How many times did he like an Arizona quarterback, and all he talked about was that, and the Florida corner? Everything Grant talks about is good, turns to shit. Does it not? And he posted on draft night, oh my God, we went for a best player availability, and he's this and that and all this. He's already doomed. Grant like he's doomed. So,
no way. Grant's not the kiss of death. Come on.
Our best pick was the wide receiver, but he's going to be a couple years away before he really learns to play the position because he's young and raw. I like the first offensive tackle we took because he's big and he's nasty and he's going to be plugged and played in a guard position this year. I like the backup quarterback that we picked. I like that pick.
Love Brock Purdy. I really do. I made a
Best
lot of
quarterback
jokes on
with the hell
Twitter.
in the handbag.
I like him. I like him.
When you got Booth from Clemson sitting there and we could have used a 4th round pick and popped up and got him, I'm sorry, corner is still our biggest need on the team. Period.
I don't think so anymore. Outside corner, anyways. Nickel corner, there's some
beat us in the
questions.
Kansas City Super Bowl? The wide receivers tore our ass up.
For sure.
What beat us in the Rams game? Their best wide receiver tore our ass up.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got to get? You got to get the corners. You can't stop wide receivers unless you get the corners. Steve Young ought to bow down because primetime, the best corner in the league, came in and said, well, guess what? I'll give you a Super Bowl, Steve Young, because you could never win one without me. And he won one with it. That's what it takes. It takes top corners. Who's won more Super Bowls than any team? Belichick. What has he always had? Top corners. Case closed. You can't win with them. You ain't going to win without them. Bottom line.
You make a tough case there, but I will say this. Quarterback play is ultimately where it's at, because if you look at Tampa Bay and you look at the Chiefs, neither one of them had top tier corners. They were able to get it done. But I will say this: Charvarius Ward did win a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, and now he's on our team. I like Charvarius Ward.
He's middle of the road, 15 to 20 rank, maybe 30 rank out of 64 starting corners. Or 62 starting corners.
I think he's top 15, top 20.
I doubt that.
I think he's top 15, top 20.
I mean, you take the Cincinnati wide receiver, just ate him alive.
Well, come on. He eats everybody else alive, did he not? Did you not watch the Super Bowl? Did you see the best corner in the game getting his lunch taken and his cookies taken play after play by those fellas?
You made my point just now. That's why we need to draft a corner. Until we get a good corner, we ain't going to win squat. That's right. We'll eat you alive. And we have nothing to stop the top guys now. Nothing. You don't win with pass rushers. You win in the secondary. Case closed.
All right. We'll see. So hold on. I think we might have to have two bets here. All right. So one of them's Drake Jackson. The problem with the Drake Jackson bet is it's going to take a couple years, right? Because you got to give every player a couple years.
Overall, had better get on the godforsaken field, and he better produce the first year. I don't care if he's a second pick or second round pick. He was our first pick. If he doesn't get on the field and produce, it's a bust.
Well, let me say this though. You said you don't think the 49ers are going to make the playoffs. Was that you talking, or you believe that?
I think they're going to be on the borderline of it. I'm predicting us at about 9 to 10 wins. 10 will get us in, 9 won't.
Okay. So we're going to be right there fighting for our lives.
Trey Lance is a rookie coming in this year. Yeah, go ahead, get out what you want to say. Go ahead.
Well, you didn't say strongly they're not making it. So I was going to say that could be a bet for us as well.
It's a maybe. They could be right on the they're on the teeter-totter standing in the middle.
All right, you think about it. If you get froggy and you think they're not going to make it, that's a bet we can make. All right.
No, I want to make the bet about the second over our first round pick.
That's fine, but I don't want to make the bet based off this year.
How many sacks is he going to get for us?
Oh God, I don't know. Sacks are tough to predict, man. I like hurries and pressures.
Good one. And I hope your boy Brad ain't riding Hutchinson's all the way to the bank, because if you watch the Georgia tape, he's not a good defensive end. It's actually a pretty shitty defensive end class this year, in my opinion. You had a bunch of
think about Thibodeau,
average guys.
Now tread lightly on Thibodeau because he's an Oregon Duck now, Mike. What would you think about him?
What do I think about him? I think he's going to be suspended within the first 2 years for about 10 games. You got an attitude problem.
Oh, okay. All right. I disagree. I like Thibodeau.
He's one of them guys that's going to get in trouble because he's going to let his mouth write a check he can't cash.
All right.
I mean, when you're sitting in the interview and you shut up and basically tell the the GMs and all them go to hell because you didn't like the questions, there's going to be a problem in the NFL.
Mm.
I mean,
All right.
you heard that where he walked out of the interview for a few minutes.
I did. Yeah, I heard that.
How
But
the hell do you
listen,
walk out of an interview when you got a chance to make millions?
but see, he still got
That's
picked.
perfect, FOB.
And I like Thibodeau
SOB.
because, first of all, he went to Oregon. Second of all, he got a severe ankle injury. He didn't have to play. He still would have been drafted high, but he came back early from that injury to try to help win. So I like
the Florida State guy that fell so damn far in the draft, and the Niners could have sent a 3rd round pick and went up there and got him. A 3rd and a 4th and went and got the guy from Florida State. He's going to be the best pass rusher in this draft. The Oregon guy will be the 2nd one. Hutchinson's will fade away and be gone. That's Detroit. They always pick garbage.
They're always desolate. All right, brother. I got to get to the next one.
All right.
All right.
Y'all have a nice night. I'm going to bed.
All right. Told you. Mike's good to piss off half the chat every time he calls in. At bare minimum, half the chat. Oh, yeah. See, there you go. Yeah. Yep. There we go. All right. Let me get to EMA beats. Yeah, I think he'll round us off. I think he'll do a good job of getting us back on track in a direction that most of you agree with, but we'll see here. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jess. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm doing fantastic.
Never a dull moment with good old Mike.
No, man, and never. That's what I'm saying. I don't even have to say much. I just let Mike go. He pisses off half the chat, but they like it. And then we get back on track. So, and Mike, you know what? Here's what I'll say about Mike. Like him, love him, hate him. He's got strong takes, but that man has always been extremely supportive of me since the very, very beginning. Staunch supporter. And he shared some personal things with me. I like Mike. So crazy takes. Not gonna disagree with that, but Mike's always been good to me.
Yeah, man. It's everybody has a right to their opinion and how they feel, and just different things like that. That's what makes everybody allows everybody the kind of the space to be able to speak on those things freely, and just be able to go back and forth or have some healthy conversation, stuff about the sport that we love and the team that we love. So it's all goody.
Absolutely. What's on your mind, man?
But yeah, nothing really. Just was thinking about how the Lombardo guy. I'm like, what is this, a Lombardi reject or what's going on? But it just seems fitting because now the Deebo stuff is starting to dissipate. So it just looked like now some of these guys are just trying to look for anything to talk about, and of course they want to highlight our our new star, and just kind of put some bad seeds, plant some bad seeds and stuff to keep the talk going. And we seem to be one of the talks of the NFL as a whole, you know what I mean, especially after the Deebo fiasco and stuff like that. I mean, that's not even all the way. We still need to hear what the contract's going to be. Is it going to be long term? Is it going to be short term? We don't really know what's going to happen. The whole social media thing and all that. It's like, everybody's taking a deep breath, and now they can release because of he's following the Niners again, and he's liking a John Lynch post or comments and stuff like that. It's like, man, I'm tired. I'm tired of it. Let's just get on with it.
I'm with you, man. But they have to sign them long. Like they have to get an extension done, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, anything in between. They have to get some sort of extension done, because if they don't, and you have the opportunity to trade him, and if he truly doesn't want to be here, that's a mistake also. So I think it'll get done. I do, but they have to get that done.
Yeah, the value is going to be will probably be compromised at that point too if it ends up coming down to something like that. So it just poor business move, poor etiquette and process as a whole. If they would allow something like that to happen, but yeah, man, I really was excited though to see the Danny Gray. It's funny because I've seen a couple of some videos of him. He just had popped up on my YouTube, and so I clicked on him, and So we ended up picking him, and I was like, "Who is this kid?" And then I seen the videos, and I was like, "Oh, I remember him." But I was like, SMU, and I kept it moving. But of course, he was really exciting and electric. So, as a wide receiver, that's a great acquisition. You know what I mean? I love, to see that, that type of a player. I know we've been needing someone to take the top off, a speedster, and he's definitely gonna have Marquise Goodwin type of effects, but he's gonna have hands this time, this version, and not have the the butterfingers and stuff like Marquise did for
Yeah,
so long.
Marquise, man, he had some speed though, didn't he? Oh my gosh! Remember? Do you
Man, he
remember
used
a
to drive
couple
me
years ago
crazy.
when they did the races? They had like all the fastest guys in the league show up, and they actually did an off-season race, and he smoked everybody. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he was Buddy was fast. I'll give him that. He was certainly fast.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really good. I'm really glad though we were able to do that and then pull off. I wasn't too excited about the Drake Jackson pick initially, um, but I'm obviously that's just because I didn't hear much about him prior to, us selecting him. But I feel good about it, and they had some videos of him doing backflips and stuff, but that looked like when he was much lighter, maybe back when he was a freshman or a sophomore or something like that. He can still hit a backflip now, but this video that I saw him, he looked much lighter. His build was totally different. But again, we need some insurance because if we don't keep Sampson, if we end up cutting him to try to save some money, which potentially could be something we'll be looking at for whatever reason, then we got that extra fill, and then we got obviously all the other guys that we have, and we acquired that Kimiko guy from the Colts and stuff like that, which I think that was a good pickup. You know what I mean? I think that was a really solid guy to have with our depth, and then also us getting what's Buddy's name from. He was with us.
We
I
got
don't know why.
Hyder back. Yeah, Kerry
Yeah,
Hyder.
Carey. Yeah, we got Carey back. So that makes me feel good about it. I know we're going to be trying to make sure we get that inside feel, with the, D tackle and stuff, since we only will be really having, no, because Eric Armstead can play inside too. I think that's really his forte. So then I guess it kind of works out.
I think Armstead's going to be permanently moved inside now. So you got him and Kinlaw probably be your guys inside, and then on third down, I think Minahu's a pretty big body guy. I think he'll probably kick inside as well. So they got a couple different options that they can throw out at you, especially on third down and long and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really glad. We're going to need that depth. We're going to need to keep guys fresh. I don't know who's going to be playing, the majority of the downs and stuff like that. Like, they switch it up. Some guys can only play X amount of downs. Hopefully Drake Jackson is not just a 1-2 down kind of guy. I heard Mike talking about it. So if, hopefully that's, doesn't happen. I'm sure with Kosaric and the guys around him, it'll entice him to want to, play as much as possible and, get those reps in. Cause those things are, those are vital. That's how you, that's your food, basically. That's how you eat. So, who doesn't want to be on the field, trying to make a difference?
Well, that's the thing, though, is that he was asked to lose a lot of weight. You talked about him being thinner. He was asked to basically place, stand up, hand out of the dirt, lose 20, 25 pounds. And that's just not his game. It didn't fit his style. It sounds like the locker room was in turmoil. My guy, Chris Roscoe's, I'm sure you see him on Croc Show, but he's a big USC guy, and he talked about it, how they had multiple defensive coordinators. They changed the scheme three times. They did a horrible job at development, and they asked him to lose, nearly 30 pounds. It's a big deal. And so he's put that weight back on, which is closer to the playing weight he was his freshman year, where he was most productive. And most likely I would, and the 49ers aren't going to ask him to stand up and rush. They're going to ask him to play with his hand in the dirt, which seems where he's most comfortable. So I like the pick.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it now, after, the smoke cleared and stuff like that. And so that's definitely going to be something to see, with him and Nick on each side, and then rotating in and out with a Menahu, and he'll be probably going inside and outside. But Kasurek, he just turns boys to men. You know what I mean? So these guys are in a really a prized position, to have him as their coach, and to get that expertise, and then also to learn from each other with the veteran guys that have been there for a few years under Kasurek. It's the perfect way to mold some really good players. That's why we're like a damn farm. People always want to come get players from the Niners all the time.
Of course they do. Of course they do. And it is super important though. I will say this, Ime Beats, teams usually stop winning rings when they overpay a bunch of guys, they lose that depth, and they can stay competitive depending on who the quarterback is. But winning rings is not normally a thing for long term. And the 49ers are going to be very competitive for a long time because they've done a good job of building that depth. They've done a good job of building the roster. They've hung on to most of their draft picks and haven't traded them for, the one guy to try to put them over the top. They've done a really good job. And so I think the 49ers will be super competitive. At some point, they are going to have to take the quote unquote all in approach, or maybe they trade a couple draft picks or whatever they got to do to go get that guy. But for right now, I think the 49ers have built a fantastic foundation that keeps them competitive, very deep roster, and you love to see it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And offensively, as long as everything's going on swell with Deebo, I think it'll be really nice to, see how Kyle decides to incorporate, him, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo, Danny Gray, Jawan Jennings, and the gang, and of course Juszczyk. I always say it, I wish we used Juszczyk more. Nobody even pays attention to him, and that's why he could be so important, and why we could use him, and why he's always wide the hell open. But Jimmy's overthrowing him on both sides of the field, repeatedly, because they know that he's just there to block. So guys like that, even like Ross Dwelley, nobody's even going to care about Ross Dwelley getting in the game. So it's like you want to take advantage of teams that are going to invest all their energy in George and all the other guys that usually would get the ball, or that they would suspect to get the ball, and be less predictable and start switching things up. Those can be really big plays that we can benefit from. So I'm just hoping that Kyle can kind of deviate from doing the obvious. He does mix things up once in a while, and he can catch teams by surprise, but just start being less predictable. You know what I mean? It just makes for more excitement on the team and for the team, and we're able to capitalize more off those opportunities. When we're doing variations and things that go. I mean, if Belichick had all of our weaponry, everybody be getting the ball. Shit, everyone would have 500 or more yards. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, because he likes to utilize all of his weapons. Kyle gets kind of like, I'm gonna, I'll have these guys on the field, but they won't touch the ball, and I'll just keep going to my same 2 or 3 guys, and we'll do that. You know what I mean? It just, and I know it has to do with the field, visual as well from the quarterback and stuff like that. Jimmy tends to be a little predictable. He goes to guys that he's comfortable with. He loves George. He loves Deebo. So the other guys that are wide open, i.e. Brandon Ayuk, who's been pissed several times, and other guys who are open tend to not get the ball. But I'm just hoping we can kind of open those things up more and start benefiting from that, as a whole. And lastly, man, the undrafted free agents, I'm glad we were able to get the guys we did get. I was really, surprised that we got so many. But there's some replacement guys, some spots that need to be filled. We got guys on 1-year contracts. We got Dre Greenlaw is going to be needing to get paid soon after this season. And then Aziz Al-Shaair and Brunskill, and there's a couple of guys that are going to be on their way out more than likely. Maybe not Aziz, but it just kind of depends. But I feel like that guy Sagun, whatever his last name was, I don't know if he's from San Diego State, but he's like a safety / linebacker. I know we had gotten, when we drafted Drake Greenlaw, he was a safety. He's a defensive back.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved him to linebacker. So maybe that can be a potential fill if the guy's really good and he can kind of learn under Dre and the guys. And I mean, Fred Warner was in the secondary as well, coming out of college. So we
we know how to we know how to get guys ready. It doesn't always work out moving guys from a position that they're not accustomed to uh, too much, but then there's that other side where we do benefit from it. Look at Fred, and look at Dre, and we got a couple of other guys. So hopefully we can benefit really this year from some of these guys. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll say this too, and you're right about certain guys probably being gone. I mean, when they signed Charvarius Ward, the first thing I thought, and this was before they went and drafted more corners, right? The first thing I thought was, oh, Emmanuel Mosley, they're not going to extend him past this year because they're going more to a press man corner look. You've already got Ambry Thomas, who proves that that's the role that fits him best. You bring in Charvarius Ward, who does the same thing. Those two are probably the future on the outside. Then they went and drafted even more corners, some good players from everything I've seen and heard. And so, that tells me more that Mosley's probably not coming back. Ward's going to be iffy. Max, certainly, if he plays this year, will not be back. So you're right. I mean, they're doing a good job of adding depth like we talked about, but that depth is going to be very important to being starting caliber players down the road, even as short as next year, because there's a lot of guys that are very iffy to come back and be in a 49er uniform next year.
Yeah. And that Davis Price guy, man, I know we've all been critical. I myself personally was really shocked. It's pretty much how I felt the same way probably as last year when we got Trey Sermon. I think I felt the same both, drafts with Sermon, the Sermon pickup, and now with this guy. But, hopefully Sermon's not doing too bad to where we're already acquiring a replacement for him potentially. Because I saw some video of him. I mean, he's got a lot of potential. I don't know what's going on, if it's his vision. I don't know if he doesn't really know where to go with the ball, and he's a bit indecisive. Kyle's not going to really be too patient with guys like that. And maybe this guy is a little more sure with where he wants to go with the ball, and he's a bit more of a visionary, and he's obviously a bit thicker and stuff like that. So, but he's not as fast. I noticed he kind of his burst. He doesn't really have a huge burst in speed. But, hopefully throughout training camp and, the summer he can get into a really good shape, because I just saw this kid from Virginia Tech that got drafted, was an undrafted free agent that got signed with the Bills, and his name was Raheem Blackshear or something like that. And he looks like a Deebo with the same vision, the same moves with the ball, but faster. And he runs really well. He's good size. Nice and strong. I was really impressed, and I was shocked that he didn't get picked up, or that wasn't somebody that we were looking at. So be on the lookout for him, man. If you ever get a chance, if you're ever watching Bills during the year.
When he was a running back?
Yeah, Raheem Blackshear.
Okay.
I was like, they were saying he models himself after like a Deebo, but he's an actual running back. So I'm like, damn, well, that could have been, our guy right there to pretty much answer all our prayers when it comes to those plays that Kyle likes to run with Deebo. He could do those things, without a problem. And I'm not trying to exclude Elijah Mitchell, but this would have just been another acquired weapon that we could have used, and Kyle could have, used him for, those specialized plays that he had with Deebo, since we're, taking the load off of him in that aspect. So I don't know, man. I just hope this was a good decision, because that guy got signed as an undrafted free agent. I don't know why nobody, he wasn't picked up, but I watched some of his film yesterday, and I was shocked. I thought, he for sure. I'm like, what round did he go in? Then I ended up finding out he got signed undrafted to the damn Bills. I'm like, man.
Hey, the Bills are a good organization, man. I trust what they're doing over there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they're gonna be good, man. We got our work cut out for us this season. The Ravens had like 20 damn draft picks. I was getting so tired of seeing their name. I'm like, damn, what, they got like 30 draft picks this year? Like, what the hell is going on?
They had like 6 picks in the 4th round. It was crazy.
But yeah, man. Hey, thanks, Jess, for the platform, man. I'm gonna keep it moving, man. Thank you as always.
Call in anytime, man. Call in anytime. It was good to hear from you. EMA Beats, man. I love EMA Beats. 49ers breakdown, tapping back in. Real quick, we've got almost 250 of you watching. If you are not subscribed, make sure you do so. Hit the like as well. It helps the algorithm, gets more views on the channel. Appreciate each and every one of you. 49ers breakdown says breaking news. Lombardo, which is, by the way, is the one that says Trey Lance is underwhelming. Lombardo just reported the 49ers have been offered and accepted a plate of burnt biscuits for Jimmy. Sold. I mean, if you can get some burnt biscuits back and save $25 million, I think you got to take it. All right, man. I appreciate you for tapping back in. Let me show you some love. Yeah, you guys are liking some of these later draft picks or undrafted free agents. I'm seeing a lot of it. A lot of optimism in the chat tonight. I'll say this. Some of you guys are, going back and forth or whatever, but for the most part, very optimistic. And I think that's a good thing. The 49er faithful right now should be very optimistic, I think. Certainly, they didn't take the quote-unquote all-in approach. But if they do the smart thing and get rid of Jimmy, they can do like they did in 2019. They can absolutely go all in, just at a different timeline. Let's see him win a few games. Let's see him start out hot. Let's see Trey Lance look good. Then you can go and make a lopsided trade, bring in somebody who's expensive because Jimmy G's off the roster. Those things can still be done. The 49ers are a very good team. I think the Rams took a step back. Obviously, you've got Tampa Bay. They're always going to be tough to deal with. But the 49ers are as good as anybody in the NFC. They don't have to deal with that craziness that's going on in the AFC. Everybody wanted to go all in over there. Good for them. But the 49ers are going to be good this year, I think. And as Trey Lance develops, they may squeak into the playoffs at 10 wins, right? But once they get there, after a full season of Trey Lance, I think it's going to be a very scary proposition. I mean, I just keep thinking about either Gray or Ray coming around with the fake end around. You got Deebo in the backfield with the threat of Trey Lance. I mean, that is a scary proposition for any defensive coordinator. Talk about putting people in conflict. That's something that Shanahan loves to do. So I love to see the positivity in the chat. Appreciate and love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for sticking with me tonight. That's going to be the show. You enjoy your weekends. Make sure, if you still are blessed enough to have moms in your life, that you tell them you love them. Mother's Day is coming right up. If not, if you have a wife in your life, make sure that you show her some love. Mother's Day is a very special day. It's a day to celebrate the women in our life that have made a major impact. And hopefully each and every one of you either have a wife that's done that for you or a mother or grandmother or something. So make sure that you love on them. Life's too short. Don't hold grudges. Love everybody around you if you can. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great weekend. We'll be back at it again next week. Peace.